Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Morning Scone, presented by Brock, the Badger Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com, restoredmotions.com, and ProChargeEV.com. Okay, y'all, how about it? Championship weekend got kicked off with a bang bang on Friday night. Washington, the Huskies, stepped up big time and did us all a gigantic favor. Washington beats Oregon for the Pac-12 championship game, 34-31. The final ever Pac-12 championship game, as it were, but that is far less consequential than the implications here. Of course, that means Washington's going to the college football playoff. I mean, they're 13-0. They're an undefeated Pac-12 champion. They're 13-0. They beat fifth-ranked Oregon for the second time this year. So Washington has punched their ticket to the college football playoff. The real relevance, of course, is that means Jaden Daniels is going to win the Heisman Trophy. So yesterday, going into that game. Bo Nix had overtaken Jade Daniels as the betting favorite to win the Heisman. His odds had continued to lengthen throughout the week and throughout the day yesterday, so much so at kickoff, Bo Nix was minus 190, meaning you'd have to bet $190 to win 100. And as that first half went on, and until the final, if you didn't watch the game, Oregon was held to 3 points in the first half, and they put together a drive right at the end of the half. They were aided by an awful pass interference penalty against Washington, but they scored with 9 seconds to go in the half. But at halftime, Jaden had overtaken Bo Nix at minus 210, maybe. So basically, Bo Nix's first half struggles forced Jaden back into the lead. Well, Oregon rallied, they took a lead, and then Bo Nix, if you were watching the live Heisman odds, Bo Nix retook the lead for the Heisman. And then Washington took the lead, got a stop. Bo Nix threw a bad interception. Washington would go up, put together a beautiful drive. I mean, a 6-minute, 88-yard drive to go up 2 scores with under 3 minutes to play. And it looked like it was over. And then Oregon scored in 2 plays. It was the stupidest thing ever. It was the most Pac-12 thing ever, actually. But anyway, but then Penix and Washington got the ball and never gave it back. And game ended 34-31. And immediately, like clock hit 0, Jaden Daniels' Heisman odds went to minus 800. And minutes after, got all the way up to minus 1,400, which is where they are now. So, actually, it might be at minus 1,200. They went to 1,400. Maybe now it's at minus 1,200. But either way, that is overwhelming. I mean, Jaden was already going to be considered the front runner by many, and there were a lot of people waiting to see the results of this game to see how Bo Nix would play, and he was basically shut down for the entire half. And while Oregon did rally late, just very clearly that Jaden's the guy. Now, there's some who've asked the question, could this be a possibility where Michael Penix catches Jaden? So no, Penix and Nix now basically have virtually the same odds to win it. And it's really just a determination now whether Penix could pass Nix for second. So Jaden is going to win it. Penix will probably be second, and Nix will probably finish third now. So, that's the dangers, but that's sort of the result of whenever you allow it all to boil down to one game, which I don't think is fair. I don't think that's how it should be. I think it's a season-long award, and I don't think it was particularly close going into yesterday. But if you basically make a determination. Look, Kalen DeBoer, he's holding his phone. If you go into the game making the determination, set your phone down, bro. So they're interviewing Kalen DeBoer right now on game day. It's very clear he's got what he's holding. You can see it shaking. Bro, just put your phone down. Oh man, what in the world? He's gonna make everybody dizzy. Yeah, I can't look at that. Kalen, put your phone down, dog. Anyway, okay, let's say some good morning, y'all. So Jade's going to win the Heisman. That's awesome. By the way, I'll throw this out randomly. Of course, I'm leaving Thursday to go to New York. I'll be doing AFR Friday from Legends in New York City, and then we'll be doing a specialty Heisman show Saturday, a 2-hour Heisman show leading up to the Heisman presentation. So we're looking forward to that. So it'll be 5 to 7 Central Saturday, 6 to 8 Eastern. And we do have one more sponsorship available. If anybody is or has or knows of a business that may want to be part of that, we have one more sponsorship package available. So hit me up and let me know if you're interested, or let whoever might be interested know to contact me. I'm happy to share whatever info I have on the sponsorship package. So, okay, let's say some good morning. We're glad to have you all aboard with us. Really should be a really good Saturday of football. If you missed Phil Steele, wait, hang on one second, y'all. One second. Should be back. Okay. I'll run through Phil's picks real quick for Saturday. He's got Texas laying the points. Had Alabama 5.5. Tulane under in the Michigan-Iowa game. Has Louisville against Florida State. Didn't like the spread in Miami-Toledo, the MAC championship, so might hook Toledo up with a money line parlay with like Michigan, maybe. We'll see. So I think we also had Boise. App State is an underdog. Yeah, those are the plays. So that's what Phil was on today. So that's what I'm on today. Okay, let's say some good mornings, y'all. Fire away. You know the drill. If you're on YouTube, please smash that like button, subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscone page, share the post. Let's see, Insured Big. Good morning. I'll take a Heisman as a consolation prize for the season. Yep. Strong Side, good morning. How's Drew's? Doing well, thank you, man. He's already up. Prod's up 96, good morning. Juan, good morning. Oh, stranded in the airport in London. Well, there's worse places to be stranded than in London. ATX, did you get escorted out of the hospital for filming? No. So some have asked. So yesterday, we did a morning scone yesterday. Erica had a small procedure done yesterday morning, so we had to be at the hospital at like 6 a.m. So whenever they took her back, it was like 8:05, and they were done at like 8:25, 8:30. I mean, it was very quick. But I was just waiting in the room. And I didn't know how long it was going to take. So I waited about 5 or 10 minutes. Then I fired up morning scone, and I was like 3 minutes into morning scone, and the doctor walked in. So I just hurried up and turned off the stream. So anyway, and then I unlisted it. I listed it as private. So that's why you don't see it up. But we did a show yesterday. Matthew Vincent, good morning from Kaplan. All right, Brad David, Pizza Boy the Jedi. Patrick P, Alan Black, Austin Kidder, good morning. I went to the Pac-12 game last night. Enjoyed a great game. The Easy Play Emperor has been conquered. Not the Easy Play Emperor. The Emperor of Empty Yards. Oh no, I got it. You're calling Bo Nix the Easy Play Emperor. Got it. Yes. Donovan Adams. Thank you, Washington. Jade Daniels should win the Heisman. Not should. He will. I mean, it's at this point, it's over. Dalton Barnett headed to Kansas today. Quite a drive ahead. Okay. Safe travels, man. Glenn Garner, Matthew Vincent, Jay Daniels won the Heisman by sitting on the couch. I mean, it's unfortunate, but he actually won the Heisman by playing the way he did throughout the year. It just took events last night out of his control to eliminate the guy that some still felt was the guy that should win it. Cortland, good morning. Jason Mobile, Ruckus last night was a movie. The special box is crazy. Yeah, so shout out Ruckus. I don't know if I should tell you all that. Well, all right, let me finish that, then I'll tell you what I was going to say. So Ruckus has a special drop for their Voodoo New Balance, which are awesome, by the way. You got to check them out. Well, the packaging they did is pretty incredible. Let me just show you. I'll get it. Let me show you. Okay. So here's the box, right? They did a great job with it. So I would assume this is almost made to look maybe like a coffin. I don't know, but so the shoes are fire. You can see it has sort of like suede and sort of the burlap. Can you see the paisley design on the interior as well, right there? That deep red. They're awesome. I mean, these are gorgeous shoes. But that's half the story, because the way they did the box, they did it like a voodoo kit. There's a coffin keychain. I guess that's Marie Laveau. I don't know. Some like voodoo stickers. I'm not even sure what's in here. I'll open that later. This was an explanation of the Voodoo Doll 440. They have like a voodoo candle in there. There's a burlap sack to hold the shoes. And then they put a voodoo doll in there as well. And candidly, y'all, I made my voodoo doll Bo Nix. And I took a needle and I stuck it through the little spot on his right arm last night during the game. So I'm not saying that's the reason that it happened. I don't know if you believe in voodoo, the voodoo that you do so well. I'm just saying we can't say it's not the reason. You're welcome. So yes, I made a Bo Nix voodoo doll and stabbed it in the right arm, like Indiana Jones. Craig Digya, Bo Nix pick 6, J85 for Heisman. I believe that's how the saying goes. Dale Broussard, Brant Roban, good morning. Let's see. Your opinion, if Bama wins, do they deserve to get in? So I think it depends, Brent, what happens the rest of the day. But no, I don't. Because if Texas wins, and if Texas is a 12-1 conference champion with a head-to-head win over Alabama, then I think Texas deserves to get in. This week, Texas was ranked 7th and Bama was ranked 8th. And I tell you all the time, well, those rankings don't matter for anything, because the committee's going to do whatever they want to do either way, and that'll be a telltale, won't it? So Oregon. So if Michigan wins, they're in. Washington won, they're in. So that means 2 spots will be accounted for. Let's assume that happens. Then you're really going to look at what happens with Florida State. If Florida State loses, they're out. Obviously, no Jordan Travis. They got to play Louisville tonight with maybe their 3rd-string quarterback, so we'll see. If Florida State wins, they're in. Undefeated conference champ would be in, which means there would be 1 spot left. Would it be 1 loss Georgia, 1 loss Ohio State, 1 loss Texas, 1 loss Alabama? Those are your choices. And 1 loss Florida State, but I think Florida State would have the weakest argument. So I think you would pick the 1 loss conference champion, Texas, that has the head-to-head over Alabama. You couldn't put Georgia in over Bama because Georgia didn't win its league and Bama has the head-to-head. Well, you couldn't put Bama in over Texas because Texas will have won its league and had a head-to-head. So I don't see a path for Alabama. Unless if all of the favorites lose. If Florida State loses, Michigan loses, and Bama beats Georgia, Texas loses, I think that's their path. But if Texas wins today, and there's an upset, and Bama now if Georgia wins, they're in. Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State. I think that's the easiest path, right? If Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State all win today, your 4 is set because you have 4 undefeateds. The real question comes: what happens if Bama beats Georgia? If Louisville beats Florida State? Now you start to have to decide among the one-loss teams. Tom Granny, good morning from Atlanta. All right, Tom. John Hendricks, good morning. Charlie Cavell, Brian Jones. Matt, that plus 900 for 1,000 is looking a lot better now. Good morning. Kenneth Westbrook, TK Brown, Kelly Presley, good morning. How's Drew? He's good, Kelly. Thank you so much. Getting better. Went to school Thursday and Friday. Still just a little, I don't want to say snotty, but, just a few lingering, little hack and cough, just the lingering stuff. But he's much better. He's been on antibiotics, so he's not contagious or anything anymore. He's feeling much better. Vernell Thomas, Rick Manuel, Debbie Jenkins, Bob Poole, Jamie Leday. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. I saw Sean there. It is. Sean, thoughts on Daniels playing in the bowl game? If he wins the Heisman, he doesn't have anything left to improve his draft stock. So to be very clear, Sean, playing in the bowl game isn't going to help Jaden Daniels' draft stock at all. I mean, Dane Brugler had a mock draft this week that had Jaden Daniels going 7 overall. Jaden Daniels has stated his case. He is, over the course of 12 games, shown his dramatic improvement in accuracy, deep ball, command of the offense, all that sort of stuff. There is nothing that a bowl game will do for Jaden Daniels. Literally nothing. If he does not play, it does not alter his draft stock one bit. The only thing that he can do is further solidify himself in the minds of some teams at Senior Bowl and Combine, Pro Day, that sort of stuff. So, anyway. So, no, there's nothing that playing in a bowl game does for Jaden. Bob Poole, Blazing Saddles reference, well played. I don't know the Blazing Saddles reference. If I did, it was an unintended Blazing Saddles reference. Henry Gordon Bennett, let's see. Shay Dixon said Alfonso. Yeah, so that was a fake commitment, yes. I Googled it, and it was on. So for those who don't know, I talked yesterday on AFR about a commitment LSU got. Kid tweeted that he committed to LSU. There were half dozen websites that had it as well. So I talked about it on the show, and then a lot of people were like, hey, man, that's fake. So my bad. It was on Yahoo. Jerry DeLucky, good morning. Trey Potan, Samuel Merrifield, Matt, are the Saints in purgatory for the next few years because of the Carr contract? They can off-ramp off the deal in 2026. So they're contractually obligated to him for at least 3 seasons. The only way out of it is draft a quarterback. That's it. That's your option. You draft a quarterback. Dana Todd, Jay Geiger, Troy Abear, good morning. What happened to Morning Scone yesterday? Did Morning Scone streak end? No, the streak did not end. I'll say it again for those that missed it. Did Morning Scone from the hospital with Erica, but it was a short show, and because it was short, I just marked it as unlisted. So I can go back and list it, but we did a show yesterday, and a lot of you were there for it. So it was YouTube only. And it was like a 3-4 minute show. Go Tigers! I bet him to win it all at plus 2,900. Let's go. Okay, very good. That'll be a nice little payday next week. Alex Rabelais, ready for that fourth quarter at 4 p.m. Fourth quarter at 4 p.m. Oh, Catholic. Yeah. Catholic and Rummel. The weather last night postponed the game. So it's tied at 14 going to the fourth quarter, which is crazy because the way the game started, I was watching the beginning of it. Catholic scored on its first drive, got down to the 1 yard line on its second drive and got stuffed on fourth down, and then went and scored on its third drive. And I was like, Cal should run. Like, Rome can't stop them. And so then I turned on the Pac-12 championship game, and then heard about the game being postponed. The Catholic game being postponed was tied at 14. I was like, oh God, Romel's defense tightened. Good for them. Anyway, let's see. Bubba Tatum, happy Saturday from frigid Denver. Okay. Shane Henry, Glenn Garner. Hey, Rebecca Claire, good morning. Guy Brooks, good morning. Derek Cropper, morning, Matt. Yes, Jaden will win the Heisman. And did you see the look on Bo Nix's face at the end of the game? I think he basically knew it was a wrap. Of course he did. Well, not just, keep in mind, Derek, for Bo Nix, yesterday wasn't just the Heisman. That was their playoff shot. Like, if they won that game, they were going to be in the college football playoff. So, I mean, they would have been the team ranked 5th that would have stood to benefit from an upset. So they beat Washington. They would have moved into the playoff. So here's Bo Nix, who came back for his 5th year, and you're right there on the doorstep. It's a 1-game sample, and you lose that game. And not only the Heisman, of course, but he lost their shot at the playoff. So now Oregon's very likely. Well, no, I was going to say going to the Rose Bowl, but Rose is a semifinal this year. The Sugar and the Rose are the semifinals. So he won't be going to the Rose Bowl. So, I mean, does he come back to playing the Fiesta Bowl or something? I don't know. We'll see. Alan Black, Jay Sessions, G. Brumfield, 1971. Morning, Matt from Matsu. All right, Gwaine, hope all is well. Best to Mrs. the E-Rock and Drew's block party. Can you give us an update on Jeremy Hill's comeback? Haven't seen anything online. Will he eventually come back to 104.5? No, Jeremy Hill's not coming back to work for us on radio. I know he left radio to go try to make a comeback in football, and I think he went undrafted in the XFL, if I remember correctly. So I don't know what Jeremy's doing now. Barry Jocelyn, Trivia Carter, Brambo, the bittersweet feeling of having a Heisman-winning quarterback on a 9-3 team is crazy. That's a good way to put it. I mean, the season could have been more if your defense was just... I mean, it was literally the point I made at the beginning of the season when we went to fall camp and everybody knew the secondary was terrible. It was a talking point from literally day one. The offense was annihilating the defense. You can go back and listen to any of the camp reports, and it was something that was evident to all. And I remember going into the first game, talked about it, and I went and looked up the national rank for the passing defenses of every college football playoff champion. And I told you all this. I went through all the numbers. There's a lot of teams. There's only 2 teams that won the college football playoff that were in the top 15 nationally in pass defense. I mean, Bama in 2020 was like 70th. LSU in 2019 was like 54th or something like that. The point is, and I said it, you don't have to be great. You just can't be awful. You don't need to be top 20. Can you be top 50? And the answer was no. They couldn't. And that cost them dearly. Cortland Bow's average was around 5 yards for that huge play. Elijah Steele, good morning. I feel like there should be a whiskey and wine last night celebrating Jaden wrapping up the Heisman. Larry Garner, Alan Black, Mike Hardy, all morning, Matt from Jersey. What's the plan for Legends? Would love to come and celebrate. So, Mike, I will be there for AFR Friday from 4 to 7 Eastern for AFR. And then Saturday, the LSU Alumni Association is having their get-together at Legends, and that's where we'll do the Heisman show. So that'll be 6 to 8 Eastern. We're leading right up to the ceremony. So it's 5 to 7 Central, 6 to 8 Eastern at Legends. Larry Garner, Alan Black. Oh, sorry, I read those. Greg Self, good morning. Tim Gautreau. Let's see, is Brian Kelly going after Dante Moore, the quarterback from Washington State? So Brambo's asking about potential transfer quarterbacks. So I can tell you, yes, LSU is going to pursue a quarterback in the portal. I don't know who it will be or who they will end up landing. I will also tell you that, and I mentioned this to T-Bob on Whiskey and Wine for those that heard it there, but I'll say it again here. There's an irony of Jaden Daniels' success in that it's actually going to cost LSU. And here's what I mean. When LSU got Jaden Daniels from Arizona State, Jaden got some NIL money, but it wasn't a lot. Like it wasn't like the type of stuff you hear now. It was more like Jaden was really excited that he had the opportunity to play at LSU. It was like, oh man, LSU's interested in me. That was more the approach. Well, when you look at the success Jaden has had, and then not just Jaden, but look at all the other transfers, right? I mean, we talked about it this week with Bo Nix and Penix transfers. Jordan Travis is a transfer. Just look around college football, right? Well, that success that transfers have had has driven up the price of transfer quarterbacks. Did y'all hear Matt Rule this week? Like,
right? So let's make sure we all understand what's happening. So make no mistake that a good quarterback in the portal costs $1 million to $1.5 million to $2 million right now. So just
$1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million right now. Good quarterback in the portal. So I mean, Matt Rule is like not even mincing words. He's telling you that's what it costs to get a good quarterback in the portal. So anyway, like it's just gonna, if you're going to get a good quarterback out of the portal, it's gonna cost you. So we'll see. But are they going to pursue quarterback? Absolutely, they're going to pursue a quarterback for the same reasons that I keep saying. Like, it's not an anti-Garrett Nussmeier sentiment. It's just that you are negligent as a head coach if you're not pursuing all avenues to make your team better. And this is a tool you have at your disposal to go use the portal. So you bring in someone to compete with Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett doesn't have experience. He's thrown fewer than 200 career passes. So you absolutely, if you can get a guy that's been a starter and played a ton of football, you bring him in. G. McGee Z. 2 Heisman winners in 4 to 5 years at quarterback for LSU. It's wild. I mean, LSU is a quarterback graveyard for a decade, and now 2 and 5 seasons. It's incredible. Cortland, Penix had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. If you watch the game, Penix was awesome. But yes, Dylan Johnson took over that game for Washington. He was awesome. The running back, number 7, he was awesome. Alan Holk, hello from Rainy, Virginia. Any word on potential new defensive coordinator and staff? Nope. Turd Ferguson, well, at least we're getting something this year. Jesse Post, at least we don't have to watch Stetson Bennett mic dropping after a first down pass. Let's see. Trey Tassan, for years we couldn't get a quarterback. Now we can't get defense. Lance Richard. Oops, hang on. Lost my spot. Oh, man. There we go. All right, Brendan, crazy to think after all the boring offenses we suffered through, and now I've witnessed 2 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks. That is wild. It is. Is drunk T-Bob going to be there? No, T-Bob's not making the trip to New York. Jared Roach, if LSU's D isn't better next year, whose seats get hotter, Brian Kelly or House? Well, so a couple things. Number one, I'm not telling you definitively that Matt House is returning. I think based on what I've been able to gather, a couple of things. I think Brian Kelly doesn't necessarily like to be the heavy. And when he can, he'd prefer to reassign coaches as opposed to just fire them. That's what happened with Brian Polian last year. Remember, he was special teams coordinator. They reassigned him to that off-field role, but that didn't happen until late February after signing day. So I think the timeline and how Brian Kelly moves the pieces on the chessboard is different than maybe what we're accustomed to seeing. Like, season ends, coach is fired, start a search for a new coach, right? So, again, I'm not saying definitively that they're going to make a change. I'm also saying, not saying they won't make a change, if that makes sense. I still think Brian Kelly is trying to figure out how to go about this whole evaluation process. Race Bannon. Bo Nix saw last night what Jay did all season. Defense that couldn't get off the field when they needed to stop. 3 down and 9, and Oregon, 3rd down, 9, Oregon gave up a rushing first down. Yeah. Spurge, good morning. Scott Loom, did you miss Morning Scone? I did not miss Morning Scone yesterday. So again, for those just joining, did not miss Morning Scone. We did an abbreviated episode. Erica had a procedure done in the hospital yesterday. So I did an episode, YouTube only, from the hospital, and I just set it to private because it was a really short episode. But the doctor walked in after the operation, or the procedure, like while I was 4 minutes into the show, and so I'd hurry up and shut down the stream, and then just set it to private. I can go relist it though if y'all want me to. I don't care. But let's see, Henry Price. What quarterback should we take in the portal? I mean, let's look at it. I mean, there's a ton of them. So Riley Leonard from Duke, Will Howard from Kansas State, Cam Ward from Washington State, DJU from Oregon State, Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, Will Rogers, Mississippi State, Max Johnson's already gone to North Carolina. Grayson McCall, who's done for 10,000 yards in his career at Coastal Carolina. Tyler Shaw from Texas Tech, started Oregon, Texas Tech, now he's back in. Hank Bachmeier, formerly of Boise State, spent this year at Tech. He's back in the portal. You understand my point. It's just there's a lot of players that have played a lot of football, and the portal doesn't even formally open until Monday. So players can't formally enter till Monday, so there will be more. And that's kind of the point. Like, somebody, when I was talking about this on air the other day, somebody mentioned, I think someone texted the show and was like, Andrew Hatch. I'm like, that's a great point. So if you remember in 2008, what happened? You had Ryan Perrilloux, who was going to be your starter. And after Perrilloux, you had Andrew Hatch, who was a transfer from Harvard, and Jarrett Lee, who was a freshman. And Perrilloux was a knucklehead and got kicked off the team, and so you were stuck with Hatch and Lee. And we saw how that season went. Hatch got concussed against Auburn, and Lee ended up playing and just wasn't ready, threw a ton of interceptions, and you were a 5-loss team. So the point is, even if you're sold on Nuss, great. What if Nuss takes a shot, a Dallas Turner shot against Alabama? What if he's tackled against A&M like Jaden was last year and twists his ankle? Then what? Redshirt freshman Ricky Collins? True freshman Colin Hurley? What are we talking about? Or go into the portal and get someone who's played a ton of football and let him compete for the job. I mean, it only makes you better to add an experienced player at the most important position in team sports. I just can't understand why people push back against that. Jonah Nicholson, Voodoo Doll was working great last night. Tim Gotro, Whiskey and Wine would be awesome from New York. I don't know if New York City could handle T-Bob unfiltered and uncensored. Elijah Steele, Danny T. The incomplete fumble was a huge call. It was the right call, though. It was. I mean, Penix's arm was coming forward. It was the right call. Carly Cat, Cortland Jacob, Bill Caffey, Scott. Never thought I would see a player from LSU in the Heisman in my lifetime. I now get to see it twice. It's wild. When Burrow won it in 2019, that's how I felt. I mean, it was 60 years. And, you know, people always ask you if there's one thing you could see in your sports fandom that you haven't seen. I mean, we've been so fortunate to watch LSU win national championships, the Saints win a Super Bowl, College World Series, the women's basketball team won a national championship. You know, I'm obviously went to Catholic, seen Catholic win state titles in football, which had never happened until 2015. So anyway, I guess my point is, like, there are very few things on the sports fandom list we hadn't seen. And for me, when I answered that question, it was always, I want to see LSU win a Heisman. It was 60 years between Billy Cannon and Joe Burrow. So to see Burrow win it in the greatest landslide ever was awesome. You know, I mean, it was almost unbelievable. And now to get to do it again is pretty phenomenal. Tom Granick saw Jaden in the Baton Rouge airport yesterday morning for 6 a.m. flights. Not sure where he was headed. Might be headed home. Some San Bernardino. Might be headed back home to Cali. Let's see. Dax. Let's see. Daniels, Penix, Nix. Daniels greater than Penix, greater than Nix. Question is Brian Kelly risking his LSU tenure by retaining Matt House? Again, Dax, I don't know that he's retaining Matt House. I want to be very clear. I am not saying Matt House is getting fired. The point I've made all season, and I've been careful to be very consistent, my point has been, I don't know how you can retain Matt House. And this isn't semantics. It's just when the Ole Miss game happened, we all looked at it and was like, I don't know how you justify keeping him back, keeping him, because if you do, you're going to lose the fan base. Like, you don't get to have the worst defense ever and keep your job when you're making $1.8 million, right? So my opinion is they should fire Matt House and try to get that right. That's my opinion. I don't know if they will. I also am not sitting here telling you that they're going to keep the status quo, because what I will say, what I have no problem saying, is there is a lot of pressure internally to make changes. What are those changes? How do they look? Is it House? Is it assistants? We will find out how Brian Kelly ultimately elects to do that. But the other thing I'll tell you too is, maybe part of his thinking is you don't fire the guy you have until you know who the replacement's going to be. So anyway, but is Brian Kelly risking his tenure? Potentially, but he's also not going to get fired. Brian Kelly has a 10-year contract, 90 or 95% of which is fully guaranteed. So I said this when they hired him, man, you are, for better or worse, you are bound with Brian Kelly and he to you for a decade. So you're 2 years in. He's not going anywhere. If the defense stinks next year, you're not firing Brian Kelly. You're not paying a $70 whatever million buyout like A&M did. So anyway, let's see. Brambo, is the Lincoln Riley DC hire going to be a good hire? Maybe. They hired the DC from UCLA, which is interesting. Biggest. That's a good reference. I'm not going to say the whole thing because it's Morning Scone, but that's a good reference. Cameron Tate, congrats to Jaden. What's the real scoop with the Alfano kid? Yeah, no. So again, if you missed it, there's a kid, Antonio Alfano, who's the #1 player in the country in 2019. Signed with Bama, left Bama, went to Colorado, spent this last year at JUCO. He tweeted this week that he was committing to LSU. And I did confirm with a staff member that was not committable. Like, he does not have a committable offer. So that was not real. So I confirmed from an LSU staff member that was not real. I made the mistake of talking about it yesterday on AFR because I saw the tweet and then Googled it and saw, I don't know, a half dozen stories confirming it. I mean, Yahoo and a lot of other places had it. They saw the tweet and ran with it. So you live and learn. I'll own that one. I'll wear it. It's just, I think, in a recruiting culture where commitments are announced on social media, you see a commit announced on social media, there's no reason to think it's not real. But apparently the kid has some mental health issues and some stuff going on. Like, apparently it's not the first time he's done something like that. Reporting offers that he didn't really have, different stuff like that. So mostly, man, I just hope that kid's all right. Like, that mental health ain't nothing to mess around with, man. So we saw with Eric Gilbert. Let's continue to see with Eric Gilbert. Anyway. Lars Corville, will Jaden Daniels cry and promote his local food bank during the Heisman acceptance speech? Probably not. Jaden's a pretty stoic kid, man. Pretty cool, calm and collected. Barry Johnson, random. I have the exact same coffee mug with the winning 2-point conversion over Bama. Yeah. It's the play. So it's the final score on there, and then it's the diagram of the play, the two-point conversion. Please smash that $4.99. We're almost to 500 watching live. That's awesome. Please smash that like button if you're there. Subscribe to the channel. By the way, shout out to HUDCO. Awful weather yesterday. Obviously, hope everybody was safe with the weather. If with all that weather you've learned that you got roof issues, we'd love to help you out. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. You can click the link right there that we have pinned, and you fill out the form on the homepage, or you can call 364-1007, 364-1007. Well, let's just do this.
HUDCO Roofing, HUDCO Roofing. When you need a roof, call someone you know. Scone and Terrio.
All you need is HUDCO.
HUDCO Roofing, HUDCO Roofing. Call HUDCO Roofing.
364-1007.
Roofing, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCO Roofing.
HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. All right. Daniel Blunt. Stephen Mumford. What's up, Goosey Goosey? Good morning, Matt. Glad I put down 50 on Jaden when it was plus 300 on DraftKings. That's not bad. The crazy stories are the ones that were like, they got it at plus 2,100, plus 2,600, all that sort of stuff. Still the craziest is the LSU fan that put a preseason bet on Burrow back in 19, where the guy bet like $50 and ended up winning like 50 grand. It was crazy. But yeah, man, congrats to everybody who held strong on their Jaden Heisman bets. Let's see. Red Abdel Majid, good morning. Steve Menard, Bentley Spears, Fred Jackson, Slee Sue, good morning, Michael Thacker, Rashad Bolden, what's going on? A few years ago, I inboxed you about Cam Ward when he was leaving Incarnate Word. We ended up with JD5. Years later, I'd still love for Ward to come hear your thoughts. Cam Ward's played a ton of football, man. If you want to bring in Cam Ward and have him come here and compete with Nussmeier, I think that's a great option. I just think Cam Ward is going to have a lot of options. For those who don't know, Cam Ward is spent this year at Washington State, so he was at Incarnate Word, and then went from Incarnate Word to Washington State, and so he played the 22 and 23 seasons at Washington State. So he spent 20 and 21 at Incarnate Word, now 22 and 23 at Washington State. Obviously, the 20 season didn't count, so he's got another year of eligibility. He can play fifth season if, like Jaden just did, if he wants to. All right. I'm going to go to the bottom and sort of go work my way back up sometimes. So I feel like some of the comments are like from 30 minutes ago that I'm just sort of scrolling through. So my apologies for that. Let's see, Ben, have you looked into transfer quarterbacks? Oh, there you go, Cam Ward, yeah. Lloyd Gray, Bo Nix blew it, Jaden Daniels won it. Seth Ponville got it plus 3,400, but only put $1. Well, your dollar is going to win $34. Is that right? Seth, that's a good lesson to learn in sports betting. Like, what are you willing to lose? Would you have been okay losing $10, $20, right? That's a good lesson to learn right there. Never just bet $1. I mean, if you're actually trying to win, never just bet $1. Anyway. Always believe in Alabama. Seeing Jaden Daniels' improvement the last few seasons has been great. Going through his progressions, finding open man, he's improved greatly on that. You know, I don't know, I feel like some of y'all are just like digging in your heels on your criticism from a year ago. And what you're not acknowledging is the thing that I told you a year ago, which was the whole he's not going through his progressions, blah, 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 was never really the point. The point was your offensive line was atrocious a year ago, and Jaden Daniels had to run to save his friggin' life and to keep the offense moving. And the one thing you couldn't do is turn the ball over. That's why you won 9 games and won the SEC West last year. Anyway. Joseph Offieri, Matthew Gardner, link to the coffee mug. This was actually a gift. A buddy Keith gave me this. So I actually don't even know where it came from. Playbook Products. Look up Playbook Products. There it is. Hopefully that helps. Strong side. Congratulations, Rustin Hyde. Dome back. Congratulations to Steven Ensminger Jr. on staff there at Rustin with the Bearcats going to the Dome. Guy Brooks, I also think House will not be back as the DC. Guy Brooks, I didn't say, I want to be clear, you're not hearing me. I didn't say House won't be back. I said I don't think he should be back. That's my opinion. I have no idea if Brian Kelly is going to bring him back or not. I'm telling you my opinion is you can't have the worst defense ever and keep your job. That's my opinion. So I don't know. I want to be very clear about this because I don't want y'all coming back with the, you said blah, blah. No. What I said is you don't get to be the worst defense ever and keep your job. Bo Pelini didn't keep his job. Bradley Del Pivito, Doug Mallory after 08 didn't keep their job. Lou Tepper, 99. I don't think he should keep his job. That's my opinion. I also don't know if Brian Kelly will retain him. What I do know and what I am willing to say, a lot of internal pressure within the athletic department for there to be defensive changes. How those changes look, is it Matt House? Maybe. Is it Robert Steeples, cornerback coach? Maybe. Is it other things? Maybe. We'll see. I just want to be very clear. Is everyone assuming House is being retained because he hasn't been fired yet? Yes, I think that is the point, Cortland. I think most people are making that assumption right now. And I've also pointed out that Brian Kelly said after the game against A&M, he would evaluate the team, and then the full staff evaluation. So we will see this week what that might look like. Again, Monday, the portal window opens, and you really start to crank toward the early signing period. So we'll see. It's going to be a busy offseason. Father J.D. Mathern, moving on from House now, would also leave Kelly a ton of time if he's looking for someone from the NFL. Or he waits until after the NFL season if Matt House wants to go back to the NFL and then goes and finds a defensive coordinator, which is also a possibility. Let's see. Irfan Sayad, Jerry G, American Patriot. Yeah, so American Patriots bringing up the Antonio Alfano thing. No, again, that's Antonio Alfano. That was not a real commitment. It was interesting though that the kid tagged Jimmy Lindsay in the tweet. H-Town Creole defense had one bad year. Y'all are ready to fire that dude. Well, he's only been here for 2 years. And well, unless you're talking about Brian Kelly. People talking about Matt House, like, I mean, I do agree. Like, I don't think Matt House should be retained. It's way too big of a risk. Like, again, you can have an off defensive year. And I understand a lot of the personnel issues this year were going to lend to you not being great. You missed on some guys in the portal in the secondary. You missed on Omar Spates. Harold Perkins, you worked him at inside backer. He clearly isn't an inside backer. You weren't dominant at the line of scrimmage. All that's true. But all that said, you still had enough talent there that would justify being better than you were. I mean, in conference games, you allowed 33 points a game against SEC opponents. That's despicable. That's atrocious. So, anyway. Yeah, so Austin Kidder said both the teams last night had better defense with a fraction of the talent. And fraction of the budget Matt House needs to go. Now, I'm not going to say fraction of the budget, Austin, because Oregon has plenty of budget, and Dan Lanning is a great defensive coach. But that's the point. And they do have talent on both those teams. And LSU does not have great talent. So I wouldn't say that the fraction of the talent thing, I don't think holds. But I could say with comparable talent, and look, Washington's defense this year was bad. Washington was 96th in the country in pass defense, something like that. They're bad. But you just say, I don't know any other way to say it. Like, you can't justify being as bad as LSU was this year. But the great news is Bo Nix lost. Jaden's going to win the Heisman. And that's a major coup to be able to use in recruiting, to have 2 Heisman winners in the last 5 seasons. I mean, think about like when Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma, right? And Baker won the Heisman. Kyler Murray won the Heisman. Jalen Hurts was a transfer, who was a Heisman finalist. So he goes to USC, and Caleb Williams wins the Heisman. So, when you start to put together that type of resume, it's easy to go sell in recruiting. You can come here and be a first-round pick and win the Heisman Trophy. Brad Davey, do you think LSU will play Arkansas on Black Friday again next year since A&M will probably play Texas? No, Brad. I think LSU is going to play Oklahoma in the final week of the season. I think that's going to be LSU's Thanksgiving weekend game, although I don't think it's going to be Black Friday. I think it'll be Saturday. And I think LSU is going to play Oklahoma. The league is going to release the full schedule here in a couple weeks for next year, but what they did this week is they leaked some games. Like, we already knew the teams LSU was going to play, and what they did was they leaked some of the dates. So, like, we know Texas and Texas A&M are going to play on Thanksgiving weekend. So LSU is not going to play A&M on Thanksgiving weekend. We know Ole Miss, Mississippi State are going to play the Egg Bowl Thanksgiving weekend. Bama and Auburn are going to play the Iron Bowl then. Florida's going to play Florida State, right? So you can look at LSU's opponents and start to use deductive reasoning who that's going to be. Well, Oklahoma's not playing in Bedlam, so not playing Oklahoma State. So it really leaves LSU either to play Oklahoma or Arkansas, and I think they're going to keep the Arkansas-Missouri game where it is, and LSU is going to play Oklahoma. Now, keep in mind also, this is a one-year schedule. The format that they're going to use for 2024 is a one-year format. It's not approved for, for a decade or whatever. It's the format that they approved for 1 year. But I think LSU is going to play Oklahoma on Thanksgiving weekend next year, which would be really cool. I mean, they have a massive game, the final weekend of the regular season, with hopefully a lot on the line. I mean, you can start to piece together certain things on the schedule, like that you're going to play. And by the way the schedule falls next year, you're going to have 2 open dates next year. That happens every now and again with the way that it rotates. Is that you'll have 2 open dates, so there'll be 2 open dates next year. You're going to play Bama the first Saturday in November. You know where your non-conference games are with USC, UCLA, Nichols, and whom am I forgetting? Who's the other one I'm forgetting? It doesn't matter. And so Vanderbilt's on the schedule as well, but Vanderbilt is going to likely play Tennessee the last weekend. So you could play Vanderbilt the week before, like you could play Vanderbilt the second to last week. You could play Oklahoma the last week. There's some things that you could just kind of use deductive reason to piece in. So I think it's going to be Oklahoma. That's the point I make, because I think it makes the most sense that LSU is going to play Oklahoma Thanksgiving weekend next year. Let's see, what's the holdup on the Joe Burrow statue, Merrick Mathern? Yeah, I don't know, Joe, or Merrick. I mean, it's got to be commissioned, paid for. I think there's a 5-year waiting period on things like that anyway at LSU. Like all the Hall of Fame committee stuff, there's a 5-year waiting period, so that could be part of it. There's a 5-year waiting period on jersey retirements and stuff like that. For the 5-year waiting period to get in the Hall of Fame, all that sort of stuff. So that's probably a big part of it. Richard Knight, who's your top guy for DC if House is let go? I keep saying Jim Leonard would be the guy. A lot of people have mentioned Blake Baker. I would be in favor of Blake Baker as well, who was here as a linebackers coach, went to Missouri. He's proven he could be a DC in the SEC. So there's some names that make sense. Swee Abbott, is Brian Kelly known for fixing broken defenses? The thing that I've said pretty consistently about Brian Kelly is you look at his time at Notre Dame, and he did a really good job hiring DCs. It's why the House collapse this year was, I mean, no pun intended, but was so surprising. Bob Diaco did great for him at Notre Dame when they were undefeated and played for Bama for the Natty. I mean, they really leaned on their defense that year with Manti Te'o. The one miss he had at Notre Dame was Brian Van Gorder. He fired Van Gorder and brought in Mike Elko. Elko left Notre Dame to go to Texas A&M. When Elko left, he hired Marcus Freeman. And anyway, I mean, he's got pretty good history, pretty good track record of hiring good DCs. And House was a really good DC at Kentucky. and was super highly thought of and recommended when he's in the NFL and did a good job last year. They weren't like last year's defense on this team, you win the national championship. But you had Ali Gay and you had BJ Ojolari and you had Perkins in his hybrid role. You had Micah Baskerville, who was a 100 tackle guy. You had Jark Bernard Converse and Mekhi Gardner, who both made NFL rosters. You had Jay Ward, who got drafted. You had Greg Brooks and Joe Fouché. You know what I mean? You weren't great last year, but you were plenty good enough. That defense last year on this year's team, and you're in the playoff. You're a playoff team. Crawfish Etouffee, what's up? Seth Ponville. Cortland, am I the only one focused more on the Jimmy Lindsay part of the commitment? No, I mean, I think that's interesting that he tweeted at Jimmy Lindsay. He's talking about Alfonso, or Alfano, excuse me. But I think I mentioned this, y'all. Like, Jimmy Lindsay was back in the press box for the final few games, and you're in the coach's box, and he's still on staff. And my understanding is he's re-engaging in recruiting right now. So, Jimmy Lindsay is healthy, and it sounds like he is and is trending in that direction. He's had a great recovery. That he'll be there and be on staff. But again, I think that's one of those things that Brian Kelly says he's going to evaluate the entire staff. It's got to be part of it, Bradlin Anderson, should we be worried about with Terrence Welch entering the portal? No, I mean, I'm bummed about it, but no. I mean, Welch this year, for those that missed it, Terrence Welch entered the portal yesterday, the sophomore cornerback. As the season went along, Uzziah Alexander got hurt. Chestnut and Denver Harris obviously didn't pan out. And J.K. Johnson was injured. You saw all the freshmen, right? They put Sage Ryan at corner. Then they played Toviano and Stamps. And so Welch just kind of got pushed further down. So, I think that's a big part of it, was he realized, where he was in the pecking order. So, either way, you were going to have to go target cornerback. Now, you hope Stamps and Toviano continue to improve and are much better next year. And on top of it, you're bringing in a really heavy defensive back recruiting class this year. Remember, Zy Alexander can come back, and J.K. Johnson will be coming back off injury. So there's a possibility those two could be your starting corners next year. If J.K. Johnson gets healthy and can play, great. But I also think they'll go to the portal and try to target a starter somewhere, right? Is there a starting cornerback in the portal somewhere? Like, last year when Fentrell Cypress left Virginia, or when you had the opportunity to get Jark Bernard Converse 2 years ago. I'm not telling you you're going to go get an All-American, but could you get a starting caliber player in the portal, like one cornerback? Yeah. Do I think they're going to go sign 4 this year out of the portal? I do not. Anyway, let's see. All right, y'all, smash that like button if you would. 508 watching live. Appreciate y'all so much, man. Please smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe up to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page. Share the post. We appreciate y'all very much for being here. All right, Tom Grant, I got Jaden plus 900 and plus 1,300. Okay, Tom, be a nice little payday next week. Bama, Georgia, who do you like? I'm actually picking Bama, y'all. I said Georgia all week, and yesterday I switched. Nick Saban's history against Georgia, Nick Saban's history against Georgia in the SEC championship game. Georgia's never beaten Bama in the SEC championship game. I think Georgia's primed to be picked off. Bama, Nick Saban is an underdog. You make Nick Saban a 5-point underdog. I mean, come on, bro. I'm a gobble. I made a play, Bama in the points, and I think they win the game. Cortland, if Nuss becomes and stays the starter next year, I'll put something down on him winning in 25. Thanos Bison, Yo Double M, what's your favorite bourbon? I mean, are we talking about like the best thing I've ever had? I mean, you got to keep in mind, I've got a crap load of whiskey. I mean, that's just some of it. But I think some of the Four Roses LEs have been among my favorite. Last year, my best bottle I scored was Parker's Heritage Double Barrel, which was awesome. One of the best bottles I've ever had in my life. Weller 12 really is my jam. I think probably the best thing I've ever had is I think Pappy 15 is the sweet spot for Pappy, and some people say Pappy is more sizzle than steak. I flatly disagree. I think obviously being weeded, but then also I think there's the texture of Pappy always is the differentiator for me. It has sort of an oily mouthfeel, which is just so pleasant. That Pappy 15, I would tell you, is the best thing I've ever had. All right, let's see. Troy Lewis, the O-line was bad to start the season. Daniels didn't throw the 50-50 balls last year. Kelly let us know how frustrated he was with that. Right, Troy. He didn't throw the 50-50 balls because you were a bad team that couldn't afford to turn the ball over. Alex Rabelais, Uncle Houdat, Matt, caught the show late. You may have touched on this already. Nick did not impress last night. I think Jaden will win the Heisman. Thoughts? Yeah, Uncle Houdat. That's literally where we led the show, man. Not only will Jaden win the Heisman, like it's over. After the game last night, I mean, the betting odds have gone. I mean, I'll check them live right now, but after the game last night, they went all the way up to Jaden 1,400 minus 1,400. Let's see. Currently at DraftKings, Jaden Daniels is minus 1,200. Michael Penix is second at plus 900. Bo Nix is third at plus 1,200. So, like, it's over. Barring something dramatically unforeseen with none of those players playing any more games, I don't know how that could happen. But Jaden right now is a runaway landslide favorite to win it. Let's see. Cortland said Troy Kelly was blowing smoke about that. Denbrock flat out said they barely practiced deep passes and really called them. That's true. Last year, for the reason I said, like Denbrock before the season. I know. I hate to do the thing where I'm like, we talked about this. I told you a lot because I keep referencing things that we've talked about. But the hard thing is like, I hear every word I say, right? But I also do a 3-hour radio show. I do morning Scone. I do podcasts. I do like different content all the time. It's not possible for y'all to hear everything I say. But the great thing about the digital age is everything is recorded. There's a record of everything we say. So I can always go back and pull it. Well, Mike Denbrock, when he did during fall camp, they had media availability for each of the coordinators. And Mike Denbrock's media availability in fall camp, he did talk about that, like about how that was a narrative, and basically said we just didn't take a lot of shots last year. We didn't call those plays. For that reason, it was more about survival offensively. Think about Iowa football this year. Iowa, the manner in which they win games, they play defense, they play ball control, they punt. Like, you can try to modernize your offense. You know who tried to modernize their offense this year? Wisconsin. How did that go? Nebraska did it 20 years ago after they fired Frank Solich and hired Bill Callahan. They've gone through a 20-year dark ages period. Sometimes you just have to win the game in the manner in which you can win the game. Anyway. Let's see, I agree House cost us a game. We shouldn't have lost against Ole Miss, nor should the Missouri game have been that close. So I disagree on Missouri. Missouri ended up being a really good team, obviously. And, Ole Miss, you were up 9 in the fourth quarter. But it just goes to show you, man, the offense had to be perfect. Offense just had to be perfect. Mark Allen, is there internal pressure to bring Corey back? I will tell you, there are absolutely factions within the LSU athletic department that want Corey Raymond to return. And I will tell you, again, that Corey never got an interview. He never had the opportunity to stay. When Brian Kelly got hired, the staff was dismissed. And what do I want to say? I'm trying to be very careful. I might go so far as to even suggest that this week when Corey got fired, maybe Brian Kelly wasn't even aware that he had been on staff at LSU. That's how I think that's how committed maybe he was just to bringing in his guys in certain spots. That it was never even going to be a decision. Anyway. So is there internal pressure to bring Corey back? I don't know if there's internal pressure. What I will say is there are definitely people within LSU athletics that want Corey Raymond to return. Yes, that much I don't mind saying at all. Damon Gilmore, but that shouldn't be a surprise. I want Corey Raymond back. A lot of people want Corey Raymond back. Washington defense is bad, but when you only have to worry about 5-yard passes, you're able to sit and make a tackle if you can tackle. And that was a problem for LSU this year for sure. How cold does it get in Norman? Pretty cold, but remember that game's in Baton Rouge next year. And there's no guarantee that they would play the following season. Again, we don't know what the schedule is going to be moving forward. We just know a 1-year schedule. And Oklahoma comes to Baton Rouge next year. Does that mean LSU's permanent opponents could be Tigers, Aggies Tide, Sooners? No, remember, that's not been determined. It's just next year's schedule. John Doucette, Solar Flares, what's up? Apparently Mizzou and OU have a trophy. I'd rather play Arkansas every year than OU. Well, if you're just talking about competitively, yeah, I'd rather play Arkansas than Oklahoma. But Oklahoma on Thanksgiving would be pretty cool. John Dew said, Matt, any quarterbacks in the portal that'd be a good fit for the Tigers? Yeah, there's about 10 quarterbacks that have all been starters that would all be a good fit. Ben. Y'all seen Herb Street's dog? Herb Street keeps bringing his dog. He's got a golden. He keeps bringing with him on all these trips as he's traveling a bunch. The dog's name is Ben. And so Herbie's sitting there holding the ball for the field goal kicker. He's got the dog like standing between his legs. It's so funny. Anyway, I say it every week if y'all been here with us. I'm always so nervous that Herbie's going to end up getting his finger kicked. Like someone is going to like kick that ball and miss and kick Herbie's. Kirk's putting Ben's hand on the ball, his paw on the ball. Oh, he's a good dog. He's a good dog. Meanwhile, you got Harry Dog and Big Al in their costumes next to this guy. This kid's going barefoot. Oh, Jesus. He didn't get in the air. That's terrible. That's awful. Oh, man. Is it possible they could be interviewing DCs and keeping it quiet? So, no, Mike, that's not exactly how it works. If they were going to make a change, you could start by, what you would do is, that's an agent game. You start by talking to agents, or agents start reaching out to schools on behalf of their client. You vet who's available, and then you go through an interview process, is how that works. Like, I know there are guys, there are coaches on LSU staff right now that have interviewed for other jobs, because if your agent is doing what he should be doing, your agent is constantly looking at opportunities for you, either to get you a better job or to use leverage to get you more money at your current job. So, but are they interviewing candidates right now for DC? No, they're not. Brian Pinn, good morning from Ruther Glen, Virginia. Do you think last night helped Jaden? It helped him any? Yeah, it won it for him. It's over. Like, I think everybody that's joining late needs to understand, like, Jaden Daniels is winning the Heisman Trophy. Like, in a matter of a night, it went from Bo Nix being the favorite at minus 190 to Jaden Daniels now the favorite at minus 1,200. Like, it's over. Bo Nix has lost last night. Yeah. Jaden's going to win it. Michael Penix is going to finish second, and Bo Nix is going to finish third. Next week is a coronation. It's a ceremonial coronation. Let's see. David Truding, Cortland Jacob. Oh, man. Sorry, y'all. Smash that like button if you would, if you're on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thanks for being there. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page. Share the post. Appreciate y'all. Damon Gilmore, any picks today? Yes, I'll run through them again. These are Phil Steele's picks. I make Phil Steele's picks for college, and I make Jimmy Ott's Football Sunday. All those handicappers' picks for the NFL. Phil Steele's picks today. Let's run through them. He's got Texas laying a big number, 15. Did not have a spread play on the MAC championship, but likes Toledo to win, so I'm probably going to take Toledo and hook it up in a money line parlay, like with Michigan, and maybe Texas, like a Texas-Michigan-Toledo money line parlay. Like Boise State, Bama in the points, Tulane, App State in the points, Michigan, Iowa under, and Louisville. Those were Phil Steele's plays for today. Let's see, who do you predict starting quarterback next season? Well, I mean, the odds-on favorite is Garrett Nussmeier, but I still think you bring in a transfer to let them compete. David Woodard just logged into the live show. Matt, did Jaden solidify the Heisman? Yes. Troy Hebert, Carr has an out after 2024 with $17 million dead cap hit. Like, they're not going to eat $17 million, though. Like, when you look at Carr's contract, and it's not, the minimum is 3. So the potential out is 2026, is after the 2025. next year, his dead cap number is 52.8. The year after, his dead cap number is 17.1. After that, they can off-ramp. The potential out of the deal is for the 2026 season. So, I mean, I'm looking at it right here at Spotrac. If it's a, you'd save, if it's a post-June 1 release, you'd save $40 million. So, like, that's what you'd be looking at. I mean, could they, could they cut him in 2025 and eat $17 million? Sure, but with the Saints cap situation, that's just not what they do. They restructure and kick it down the road and spread it out over future years. So, anyway, but I mean, I'm looking at it at Spotrac. The potential out on the deal is in 2026, and it becomes a 3-year, $100 million contract, and you'd have 11.4 of dead cap money. Carl, will Bam be left out of the college football playoff if they win? I think so, Carl. Now, I don't have a vote. I'm not in the committee. But if Bama wins and Georgia loses, I think if Texas wins, Texas has to be the team that's in. They would be a 12-1 conference champ. They have a head-to-head against Alabama on the road. Playing games on the field, results have to matter. Results have to matter. Otherwise, why are we playing games? Like, I don't care if you think Bama's better now than Texas. Texas went to Tuscaloosa and won. That has to matter. It just, regardless of how you feel about SEC, allegiances, it has to matter. Otherwise, why are we playing games? Let's see, Father J.D. Mathern. Tomorrow's the last time we'll have Tier 14 playoff debate. Cheers. Amen. Arrow to the ACL. Matt, congrats to JD5. Well-deserved. Would be a travesty if he did not get the Heisman. That being said, am I crazy if I want to take a flyer on Milrow at those odds? Yes, you're crazy. Tiger for life. How much will a Heisman winner help recruiting overall, not just offense? Yeah, man. I mean, the attention, the notoriety, it's cachet for your program. A Heisman winner is all over TV, does the rubber chicken circuit, goes on the Tonight Show and all. I mean, yeah, it's a huge deal for notoriety of the program. Let's see. I see what Haynes King did to UGA. I think Milrow could have a day on the ground. Justin Credible, top of the morning. Hit that like button. Dane Bergeron, good morning. LSU modernized after less miles. It worked out well. Yes, but Dane, understand, so to that point, you have to have the athletes. Nebraska, Wisconsin, those programs, Iowa, are never going to get the type of players that LSU, like Wisconsin's receiver room is never going to look like Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Kyron Lacey. You know what I mean? Like, you're never going to look that way. You're never going to have the athletes to be able to do that. LSU does. That's the difference. Christian, speaking of Iowa, as much as I was on the game last night, saw on the runner at the bottom of the screen, Iowa won 10 games by an average of less than 20 points per game for the first time since 1976. They've got their formula. We sure do miss those Les Miles defenses. You know what, though, Cortland? A big part of John Chavis, and I think, so there's this theory, and I subscribe to it, that part of the reason John Chavis' defenses at LSU were statistically so good, yes, a lot of them had really good players, but you were a defense complementing an offense that was ball control short in the game. When Chavis left LSU, went to A&M and then Arkansas, he was the DC at a place where offenses were going fast, and instead of the defense being on the field for 55 or 60 plays a game, they were on the field for 75, 80 plays a game, and all of a sudden you saw the yards per game go from 300 to 450. Well, if you're on the field for another 20 plays a game, yeah. Daryl, severe for the LSU defense to be a laughingstock of the conference is inexcusable. Clown show cost us a natty. It definitely cost you a playoff appearance. I don't know if it cost you a natty, but it definitely cost you a playoff appearance. Lee Corso picked Iowa to beat Michigan today. Warhammer for Congress. Thoughts on JD5's draft stock now that he will win the Heisman? Again, I don't think the Heisman has anything to do with his draft stock whatsoever. The NFL doesn't care. But you're starting to see Jaden top 10 of mock drafts everywhere. I think it's the season he's had that has allowed him to propel up draft boards, and I think he's going to go crush it at the Senior Bowl and at the Combine and Pro Day. He's going to do great in all the interviews, and someone's going to pay him a lot of money. I think he'll be a top 10 pick. Rich Bad being House was out recruiting with Frank Wilson last night. Do you think his job is safe? I think that's circumstantial and doesn't matter. And I'll often tell the story about Ed Ogeron that Ed has told when he was at SC. When that staff got fired before Pete Carroll was hired, Ed just kept recruiting. You keep recruiting until you're told not to recruit anymore. And so when Pete Carroll got hired, he met with Ed, and Ed was like going to meet players. And so Pete ended up retaining Ed. But the point is, like, you keep recruiting until you're told not to recruit. I mean, there have been times where coaches, I know of stories where coaches were on the road recruiting and were called off the road because they were getting fired. So, no, I don't put anything into Matt House recruiting yesterday. He's still employed. So, yes, you go recruit. Jaden runs like Michael Vick. His arm isn't as strong, but Jaden's a much better pocket passer. Vic definitely had a stronger arm. Vic was a more dynamic runner. Michael Vick is the most dynamic runner I've ever seen, not just as a quarterback. I mean, certainly for quarterback, he was something. Yeah. Michael Broussard, morning, Matt, from Champaign, Illinois. I have a dilemma. I have 2 Jaden Daniels Heisman tickets, one for plus 2,000, one for plus 1,400. Which whiskey should I buy first? It depends, Michael. It depends how much. It depends how much money you put down at those odds, which will determine which whiskey you're going to buy. Spider-Man 0112 decisions Kelly made on hires without considering keeping the special teams coach and Kane, mind-boggling. No, he hired Jamar Kane. But Kane left last year in spring, left this spring, in the middle of spring. The two that I've maintained that he made the error was obviously Greg McMahon special teams and Corey Raymond. Brian Turner, Oklahoma was the coldest place I've ever been to. It was damn near uninhabitable. I can imagine during the winter, but man, go farther north. Pooh. When you have like 2 months of consistently never getting above 0, that's miserable. Barry, Matt, I don't know much about Jim Leonard. What about his resume make him a DC candidate? Currently an analyst at Illinois. What am I missing? NFL career in Wisconsin. He was one of the best defensive coordinators in the country when he was at Wisconsin. And they had a staff change. But, Jim Leonard's he was the DC at Wisconsin from 2017 to 2022, and then he was the interim head coach last year. And so I don't know why he's an analyst this year at Illinois. Maybe it's just the way that the cookie crumbled. But, he'll be a head coach soon. But his defenses at Wisconsin were consistently among the best in the country. They were top 10 every year and everything. I don't know why he's an analyst at Illinois this year. Josh DeVilliers, 61% completion for Bo last night. No surprise there. Uncle Hoodad, Matt, with the Pac-12 being default after this year, will the AAC replace him in the Power 5? Nope, there's just not going to be a Power 5. It'll be a Power 4. Like that's how they'll change the automatic bids for for the playoff. There won't be 5 auto bids like that. Matt, let's see. Chase and Matt, John Canzano has been real quiet since last night. Not all fault, John. I mean, John's doing what a lot of people here did for Jaden. You know, you go to bat for your guy. He just happens to have been wrong. Saints should have never signed Carr, went into full rebuild mode. Always putting pretenders out every season, knowing they're not contenders. See, Bama wins. UT has to be in the college football playoff. I'm pulling for Bama for the chaos. Well, remember, so if Michigan wins, Florida State wins, and Washington already won, those 3 undefeateds would all be in. So then it's a matter of the 1-loss teams. Is it Texas, Bama, Georgia, Florida State? And for me, it would be Texas. They'd be a 12-1 conference champion with a head-to-head win over Bama. It would have to be Texas. Ohio State. I keep leaving out Ohio State. I just can't imagine Ohio State getting in. I don't see a path for Ohio State. All right. Smash the like button if you would. A couple more here. Gregory Gordy, you think we'll ever see a defensive player win the Heisman? I mean, it's hard to say never. We saw it with Charles Woodson. It would have to be something extraordinary. And Ndamukong Suh was a runner-up. Manti Te'o was a runner-up. So we've seen defensive players get close. Wasn't Chase Young? Wasn't Chase Young the runner-up? No, Chase Young was 4th. Who? I feel like there was a defensive player that was runner-up a couple of years ago. Last year was Max. Oh, Aiden Hutchinson. That was it. When Bryce Young won it, Aiden Hutchinson was runner-up. So we saw Aiden Hutchinson be runner-up. We saw Ndamukong Suh runner-up. We saw Manti Te'o runner-up. So we've seen defensive players get close. Anyway. So maybe. Matt House having a mouse face supports my theory that mouse-faced people are holding us back as a species. What in the world? Oh, man. H-Town Creole Matt, status for Denver Harris. Is he on the team for next season? No, he's not going to be on the team next season. Cortland Jacob, Nebraska's best wide receiver by far last season was a guy who couldn't see the field consistently at LSU. I don't know that I would say that. Like, Trey Palmer was a really good player. But I understand your point. Trey Palmer was really good, but LSU obviously had a log jam. Well, your point is good. I understand your point. Your point is saying Trey Palmer is a really good player. There was just a log jam at LSU. Trey Palmer is an NFL receiver. He's playing for the Bucs. He's a good player. Is Nuss going to be the answer next year, or should we look in the portal? You look in the portal regardless, and bring in someone to compete with Nuss, and so that way you have a viable option. David Woodard. Funny seeing Matt House on the recruiting trail, knowing he doesn't like to recruit, think he's trying to save his job. No, like every coach recruits. Every coach has a territory, an area they recruit. That's non-negotiable. Every coach recruits. You only have 10 full-time assistants, and they all are allowed to recruit off campus, so all of them recruit. He's not trying to save his job. He's told what his territory is, who they go see. They have a plan. He goes and recruits. So that's not him consciously saying, I'm going to go recruit. It's like, no, this is your territory. Go recruit. Ooh, oil well this year in Wyoming, minus 55, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Ooh, Yeah, it definitely gets worse in Oklahoma. That's pretty terrible. Imagine the buzz if Jaden were drafted by the Saints. Did Bo Nix completion percentage dip to help keep Joe record? I don't know. Early signing day coming up. It's been quiet. Any insight on how this year's class is rounding out? Really good. Excited about the portal Monday. That's the next big thing. Washington bands played neck after the win. That was awesome. Everyone plays neck, but yes. Daryl, gotta hope. Gouge. Oh, Georgia. Okay, that's not how you spell Georgia. But anyway, I understand what you're trying to do there, Daryl. Gawja. That's Gouja. But yeah, Bama loses today. They're obviously out. Austin, I could see it being a split vote. Texas and Bama with the committee. Some will say Bama deserves it for beating #1 Georgia. Head to head has to matter. Like, otherwise, why? I'll say it again. Why are we playing games? Hey, buddy. Videos? You want to come say hi to Dad's show? How about your backpack's done too? Come see me. And then videos.
How many?
We're just gonna say hi to Dad's show, and then we'll do videos. Let's take off your backpack.
Hide.
I don't know why this. What are we doing? You done? Yeah, Do's done.
Hi, Dad.
Hey, Bubba. Did you sleep so good last night?
Yes.
Okay, let's say. Oh, here we go. All right.
Hi, Dad.
Oh my goodness, that was so sweet. You want to tell everybody? Hey, what do we say when LSU's playing football?
Go, Dad.
Go Tigers. And what do we say when the Saints are playing?
Who, Dad?
Who dat? Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do videos. Hey.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to ask so nicely. Ooh, you got a droopy day. I bet you. Okay. It was a quick visit, but your patience was rewarded. Okay, y'all. Bentley Spears, where do you think Jordan Clark is at? I don't know, Bentley, and I was trying not to reach out to him. I was giving him a little space. Jordan's a great kid, man. And I probably will shoot him a message this weekend. Just not necessarily to pry, but to see if he's a possible candidate for LSU. Sonny Warmington, Michael Cook, Dana Berthelot. What's up, y'all? Clayton Knight, Kerry Hughes, good morning. What were Jaden's odds before the season started? 2,500? Jaden, here it is, August 31st. Jaden plus 1,100. So about where they are now. Well, actually, no, now he's minus 1,200 now. So anyways, plus 1,100 at the start of the season. Rick Hess, how do you remember all these sports facts? I don't know, Rick. When it's what you do all day, every day, I don't know. I got a good memory too. Thank you for saying that, but I don't know. Jonathan Martin, Scott Loom, what's up with Ryan Leaf? I going to bat for a Big 12 guy. Jaden's going to be drafted way before the Saints draft unless they trade up. I agree with that. Now, the other thing, too, Crawfish Etouffee, is what if the Saints keep losing? The Saints keep losing, they could end up with a top 10 pick, and then it could be in play. That is a possibility. I think the Saints are going to lose Sunday to Detroit. I don't think there's any game on the schedule that I would take out my Sharpie and scribble a W. So, yeah, they get Carolina and New Orleans, which might be the closest thing to that. But. Ryan Dunn, have you talked about the quarterbacks who've entered the portal? Yeah, a good bit today. Do I think any end up at LSU? I do. I think LSU will sign a quarterback out of the portal. I just think it's going to be hard to get one of the top guys because it's going to be expensive, and LSU is returning Nussmeier. But I think you go for someone in the portal who has been a starting quarterback to bring him in and compete. How confident are you Jaden wins the Heisman? I mean, it's 99.9 repeating. It's over. I mean, the betting odds have shown you what they are. Austin, he talks sports every day for a living. Yeah, that's. Gregory Gordy, Christian, make defense great again. Matt, what do you hope happens today? If it's not LSU or doesn't directly affect LSU, then I'm more just cared about winning money on my bets. So I got Bama plus 5.5. I got Texas. I got the under in the Michigan-Iowa game. I mean, it's kind of what I'm pulling for, you know. You know, I don't know that. I mean, I'd kind of like to see Georgia streak in. I don't want them to three-peat. I think if Bama wins, they're not getting in. And maybe I'm naive. I don't know what those people in that committee room are going to do. But for the life of me, I don't know how if Texas wins, how you could possibly justify putting Bama in over Texas when they played in Tuscaloosa and Texas beat Bama head-to-head. Let's see. Appreciate all the nice comments for Drew. Yeah, Drew is feeling better, Christian. Thank you. Matt, would it be wise to have Mason Smith drop 10 to 15 pounds, get off the ball faster? I don't think so, man. Mason looks good. Like, I mean, I saw Mason up at the studio before fall camp, and he looked good. I think Mason, I'm trying to say this as politely as I can. Mason's got to find his mean streak. He's got to find that switch. You know, like people talk about when they go on the field and they flip the switch. Like, whatever that is. I mean, the best example is Al Woods. Mason Smith feels like Al Woods reincarnated 10 years later. You know, Al Woods was a 5-star from Elton, Louisiana. You know, played a tiny little school, came to LSU, and saw guys that were as big as him. But he didn't realize he was a giant physical freak show. He just had to get mean. And he went to the NFL and got drafted by the Saints because he was a giant physical freak show and got cut after camp. And he bounced around and bounced around and bounced around. And finally, some switch flipped for him. He's been in the NFL now for 14 years. I think the same with Mason. Mason's got to find that mean streak somewhere, bro. All right, y'all. She said Mason's in the wrong scheme, built for a 4-3, but he was playing 3 technique for the bulk of this season. They moved him when they brought in Pete Jenkins the week of Missouri. They moved Mason from nose to playing 3 tech. It just didn't matter a ton, man. Father J.D. Mathurin, more important, Porter quarterback or top portal DBs? Well, the answer is it depends. I mean, if you get me the best cornerback in the portal this year, that's a more important get for LSU this year, because you have a quarterback. You don't have quality starting cornerbacks right now. Drew McDaniel was Saints Lions ticket winners announced. Yes. I forgot the guy's name. Powers. Thomas Powers? I think Thomas Powers was the name. Is Pete Jenkins staying next year? I doubt it. I doubt that Coach Pete will be there. How many points did you lay with Texas? I laid 15.5, Daryl. Phil Steele, his projections had Texas as a 3-touchdown winner in that game. So, okay. Let's see. So, best case scenario, Bama wins. No SEC team gets in the playoff unless you already count Texas as an SEC team. We don't need Texas in the playoff right before they come into the SEC. Yeah, man. Look, I think Texas and Oklahoma next year are going to struggle either way. They're just, Texas played 3 ranked teams. Played Bama in week 2. They played number 24 Kansas, who finished the season 8-4, 5-4 in the conference, unranked. And they played number 12 Oklahoma and lost. I'm sorry, and they also played Kansas State. Kansas State was ranked. You're just not going to have a lot of Baylor, Kansas, Houston, BYU, TCU, Iowa State, Texas Tech on your schedule next year. I mean, Texas's 2024 football schedule, here it is. They're playing a non-conference game at Michigan, by the way. Good on them for scheduling it. I mean, they played at Bama this year. They're playing at Michigan next year. Like, good on you. But they're going to play Georgia, at Arkansas, at A&M, Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vandy. I mean, they get Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vandy, which should be layups. But Georgia, Arkansas, A&M, Oklahoma, Florida. And you got to go to Michigan? See. All right. I think we're done, y'all. Appreciate y'all for being here. We've been going for a minute now. It is, we've been going for almost 2 hours here at Morning Scone. Appreciate y'all for being here. Hey, remember, as always, shout out to Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and Hudco Roofing. You need Northeast, go to Brock Need Roof. Give a shout out to Hudco. All the awful weather. Wait, 2 things real quick. Or maybe 3. Number 1, please, YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe up if you're new. Number 2, next week, Heisman show from New York City, AFR Friday, and then our Heisman specialty show on Saturday, 2-hour show leading up. We have 1 sponsorship available. If you own a business or know someone that does it might be interested, please holler. We have 1 more. Accurate Baton Rouge is 1 sponsor, and Insurance Network of Louisiana is another. We have 1 other sponsorship available. So if you know someone or a business, that'd be cool. And then, of course, Hudco. Do business with someone you know. With all the bad weather, if you had an issue with your roof, usually when it rains, when we find out people had issues with their roofs, with all the bad weather and tornado warnings and all the high wind, maybe debris on your roof, love to help you out. HudcoRoofing.com, HudcoRoofing.com. Okay, thanks so much for being here. Y'all have an awesome day. Enjoy the football. Good luck if you're betting today. Go Jaden, go Heisman. And we will see you tomorrow for Morning Scone. Peace. I'm out of here.